Education Week and Education Trust have acknowledged Ohio's work in increasing funding equity. Over the 10-year period, from 1999 to 2007, funding for education grew by 69% at a time when inflation grew at about 30%. So today, Ohio has made improvement in just about every measure available at the national level. But despite these indicators, we know that our education system still has incredible challenges. One challenge is reflected in the changing nature and purpose and the importance of education in our world. The world has simply changed from when our educational system was established over 150 years ago. Education is more important now in a global economy than it ever has been in our past. Once we were in Ohio an agricultural economy, and then about the past 100 years we switched to a manufacturing and industrial-based economy. In the past, many of our Northeastern families lived a comfortable middle-class life, supported by a single income from a manufacturing job. Today, there's another economic shift taking place as we are becoming a more service and knowledge-based economy. Today's Ohio families just don't need access to education. They need success for all their children in our educational system. Education today is about achieving a goal that says that our children, all of our children, must graduate from high school and be prepared to go on to college or some type of post-secondary training. Right now, our system continues to fail many of our students. In fact, in Ohio, 19,000 students per year don't graduate on time. While Ohio graduation rate continues to go up each year for all of our subgroups, it's at 86.8%, the gap is still too large among certain groups. For example, the gap between our black and white students in Ohio is about 20 percentage points. The gap between poor and non-poor children is 14 percentage points. And unfortunately, in Ohio, urban districts, the average graduation rate is only 68%. Ohio and America cannot afford to have 1 out of every student not graduate from high school. Just a few days ago, Education Week released a report which ranked Ohio 16th in the country for its graduation rates. We have far outperformed our neighbors in this measure. Indiana was ranked 23, Kentucky 29, and Michigan was near the bottom. As always, we beat Michigan. However, and I could say that with a little heartburn because I'm an alum. However, we also focus our lens on when we focus our lens on our urban districts, we see the average graduation rate in Ohio's urban 8 is approximately 68%, but sadly in Cleveland it is only 55%. The diploma count reports show that about 50% of black students graduate from Ohio high schools on time and about 48% of Hispanic students. This means whatever graduation rate you look at, the graduation crisis strikes poor, minority, and urban youth more than others. There is no question that poverty is a factor in these graduation gaps. But we also know that statewide, race matters. Because even when we control for poverty, our data shows that whites outperform blacks and Hispanics. And so we are beginning to have some very difficult conversations about race and about low expectations, about how we might be creating and perpetuating a racial achievement gaps because our expectations for these children are simply not high enough. We need to have open and honest discussions about this expectation gap. Working with the Ohio Department of Education, we have several school districts in southwestern Ohio which are examining how we design our school systems that have negative impacts on Black and brown students. In spite of all the civil rights legislation, in spite of the U.S. court decision on Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka 50 years ago, in spite of all the efforts we've made to improve equal opportunity for education for all children, there still exists incredible disparity in high-quality education for all children. And yet, public education system is our only viable solution to providing every student in our state and our nation with the American dream of success. Because despite its faults, public education remains the most democratic and accessible institution in this country. The racial achievement gap is not only an issue for the student body of a local school district, but it has implications for the entire 21st century global society, and one that we need to raise in everybody's consciousness. Dropouts aren't just school districts' problems, they're everybody's problem. As Cleveland native Ron Ferguson, a Harvard economist, has said, it is everybody's interest to raise academic achievement for Black and brown students. We know that all students can learn. We know that Black students, poor students, special education students can succeed. We must provide them with a system that allows them to do their very best and assure their success in the 21st century. In this 21st century, our students need skills and knowledge so that they can compete, collaborate, and communicate across the continent, in countries, and in other cultures. Our State Board of Education has examined the issue of 21st century skills from the perspective of business and industry. They asked employers, what do you want our students to know and be able to do when they leave our system? The employers tell us that they want our students to be trade literate, be knowledgeable about geopolitics, be sensitive to foreign cultures, conversant in different languages, technologically savvy, capable of managing complexity, and being ethical and moral. In this 21st century, our students must be able to think creatively, be able to solve problems, synthesize, and integrate information across disciplines. Last year, the Columbus Dispatch reported that Ohio's future is linked to its major cities, and that problems of cities are linked to the needs of families, and specifically the needs for quality school districts. Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson told the Dispatch, people are making their choices based on education. And if I am able to make our school district a district of choice where people want to put their children because of excellence, then I can guarantee that our population reduction will come to a halt. Our State Board of Education agrees with Mayor Jackson on the need to stop migration out of our major urban areas and out of Ohio as a whole. Certainly, Ohio's future could continue a trend of outward migration and lost economic prospects. However, our board envisions an Ohio of tomorrow where we have a new generation of manufacturing that's highly automated, highly productive, an expanding healthcare industry, a boom in entertainment and tourism, a new energy industry, rising exports, and successful collaboration in the new global economy. So, how do we get this new Ohio? How do we get there? What does the Ohio education system play in the future of our state? And how can we help Mayor Jackson achieve his great goal? We need systemic, transformational change in education in Ohio. We can't continue to expect 21st century skills to be taught in an archaic, century-old learning environment. We get there by improving what I call 6 components of a 21st century educational system.